right here if you don't mind me. Back in business, baby. This is not wine, but it was before. I had a little glass before I sat down and started recording. This is a little DC moment. It's like 8 o'clock at night, so guess who's gonna have a nightmare? I actually don't know if that's true. My mom told me when I was young that if you have Coke before bed, you have a nightmare. Maybe she wasn't talking about Coca-Cola. I'm just kidding. My mama didn't play like that. Also, if you see this leg, it's an elf. This is Rosalie. So funny story, I actually got this elf for my boyfriend, my adult man boyfriend, as a joke because he did not grow up with an elf. And I did. I've told him so many stories about growing up with an elf. My elf's name was Sinji. She would come on Thanksgiving night and be with me through the holiday season out up until Christmas Eve, and I would put her under the tree. She was there to keep an eye on me to make sure I was behaving for Santa. And so anyway, I've told my boyfriend all these stories about my elf, and I did not have an elf on the shelf. I had an elf magic elf, and so did everybody that I went to school with. They had elf magic elves that look like this. They're like plushy, squishy. So I've told my boyfriend so many stories. And last year, I decided to, as a joke, get him an elf that I can pull little pranks on him with. So this is his elf. She came with the name Rosalie, but the funny story about it is I got this elf in, and when I opened the package, I just bought the elf. So I ordered that, and I get this massive box in the mail, and I'm like, what is this? And I see it's from Elf Magic, and I was like, it's a big box for an elf and some snow. And I opened it up, and they sent me so much extra stuff. They sent like outfits, they sent a bed, they sent like all kinds of stuff, like all this extra stuff. And I was like, did I black out and accidentally spend $300 on the Elf Magic website? No, I go, look, I just ordered this. So I looked, and apparently they surprise kids and put some extra stuff in some packages to send it out as like an extra little gift with the elf, as like a little, Christmas magic, just a little surprise. Some lucky people get some extra stuff in it. Little did they know that the lucky winner for that was a 26-year-old adult man. So, Elf Magic, everybody.
Well, it's another day, another scandal in Hollywood.
Honestly, she had it coming if you ask me.
It's all just so performative.
Well, it's true because the internet said.
Wait, I think I've seen this film before.
You're never gonna believe what happened next.
I don't think she'll ever recover from this.
It's so scandalous.
It's shocking.
It's all just so sensational.
Well, look who decided to come back for round 2. Welcome to the Sensationalist. I am so happy to have you here once again. We have a lot to talk about this week, so why don't we just get straight into it? So much has happened since we last chatted with each other. We've got to talk about Dancing with the Stars. What an incredible finale, first of all. But second of all, we might as well call it Dancing with the Devil, because apparently that's what it was to a lot of people this season. So we definitely need to talk about that. And of course, we need to talk about Taylor Swift, because there's always Taylor Swift news, and I'm not ever going to not talk about it. So I'm going to be really honest with you guys right now. My tummy hurts. I'm kind of annoyed by everybody at the moment. I have my first real live hater, like actual hater, who's commenting on all of my stuff, hates my guts. I'm flattered though. You know you made it when you got a little hater. I'm not feeling very bonita. Okay? My hair's dirty. My tummy hurts. Everybody's annoying me. But the show never stops. You know what I mean? That's show business, baby. We have a lot to talk about today. A lot has happened since I last chatted with you all. So I think we should just get straight into it. You need the scoop. I need the scoop. I think it's time we dial 411. Hello, 411. I'm dying to know the latest gossip. You're joking. Scandalous as ever. Welcome back to the 411, where we talk about everything that's gone down around town, in this town, in your town, in my town, all around the world. All around the world. We go all around the world. The first thing that I would like to talk about today is Taylor Swift announcing her wedding date through a very interesting situation. So this is all alleged as far as I know. Perhaps by the time this episode comes out, it will be confirmed or denied. So take that into account as you listen to my rambling and my theories. So allegedly, at least at present day, what is being reported, what is being spread along around the internet, is that someone had booked their wedding for June 13th, 2026 in Rhode Island at Ocean House in Rhode Island, in Watch Hill, where Taylor Swift's house the last great American dynasty house is. So, allegedly, this person was offered from Taylor Swift to move her date because Taylor Swift wanted to be married on June 13th, 2026. So she wanted her wedding date, like a bride wars situation, but very civil. She said, hey, if you move your date, I will pay for your wedding and your honeymoon. That's what I saw. So again, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just spreading gossip. That's all. Allegedly, the bride agreed, and that is Taylor Swift's wedding date. We all know that now, which I have some thoughts about, and I've seen some theories on the internet because obviously Taylor Swift announces her wedding date and everybody's going crazy and losing their minds over this and, you know, spreading it. Of course, she get married on the 13th and she's so into numerology, so I could see that as well. The 13th is her lucky number, and then 13 times 2 is 26, 2026. So how perfect, right? You know, anyway. But the thing is, people have pointed out that, number one, that date is on the cake in the I Bet You Think About Me music video of the wedding scene, which is interesting. Could be a coincidence, or again, that could be another reason that she wants this date so bad. I don't know. But here's what I'm going to say. Not to step into any of the theories about like her relationships, all of performance or whatever, whether that be the case or not, I don't care. I'm not interested in that. I don't care who Taylor Swift is dating, who she isn't dating. As long as she's happy and doing her thing, then that's her business. I'm here for the art, and I'm also here to use my brain. And my brain tells me that if I was as famous as Taylor Swift and had as many stalkers and scary people and just overly obsessive fans in general, even if they're not scary and harmful, you know, just overly obsessive fans. If I was the most famous woman on this planet, there's not a shot in hell that I would be announcing my wedding date or letting that leak at all. So I think it's got to be a decoy. There's no way, unless, you know, and like I said this on my TikTok, I don't know what the kind of security that she has access to. I'm sure it's a decent security and she's just fine. And like, it's not like we, you know, it's not like we haven't known where she's going to be before. Like, it's kind of the same thing as her planning a tour. We know exactly where she's going to be when, you know, so I guess that's different, but it's just, it feels like for something so intimate and private, I don't know, maybe she does want a big wedding, and maybe it's because she knows that having a big wedding, it's going to leak anyway, so she might as well be, you know, ahead of it and leak it. I could see that as well, but it's so interesting to me because I think for so long, I really thought that if Taylor Swift was ever going to get married, we would never know about it. I thought that it was going to be so private that I truly thought we would never know if she was engaged, if she was married, if she had kids. Like, she's so fantastic at disappearing when she wants to disappear and being seen when she wants to be seen. And again, there's so many different layers that can go into this of like, well, is that really what she's wanted, or has that been a compromise of the relationship she's been with in the past? And she's finally with somebody who is like, I don't care. I'm all down for the spotlight. I'm down to be out and about with you. I do not care. And so she's getting to live her truth and her dreams and her fantasies and everything. That's great. That very well is just as much of a possibility as it is that this is all like a decoy of fake wedding dates so that nobody knows when the real thing's actually happening and stuff like that. You know, those are all equal possibilities. It's just shocking to me that somebody with that much fame would give a location and a date, like would let that slip. You know, I feel like that would be so tight-lipped, but what do I know? I just think at this point, it has to be a decoy. What are your thoughts on this? I'm so interested to hear. I've seen people theorizing that it leaked and she's having to pivot now. Maybe she didn't want it to leak. Maybe she did try to keep it private. I've seen people say that, you know, none of it's real. It's all been planned. It's all a performance, and she's not actually getting married. I've seen people say that she's not getting married on that date, kind of what I was saying, that it's a decoy. That way she can have her real intimate private wedding without anybody looking. I don't know. I have no idea. And also, it's none of our business. Who cares? But it's just interesting to ponder, interesting to think about. Selfishly, I will tell you that I cannot wait to see her wedding dress, because that is one thing that I've thought if Taylor Swift does have a super private, intimate wedding, which she would be fully in her rights to do, just to clarify, I just wish that we would get to at least see what the dress looks like. And so that's what I'm hopeful for, is if she does have this just like big giant, because also, you know what, as I'm saying this, let's just play devil's advocate for a second. If you were that famous, that wealthy, and you had the resources to literally have whatever kind of a wedding you wanted, and you knew that paparazzi, news people, fans in general will be doing everything they possibly can do to get the photos, to get a glimpse of this day, why would you not just have the biggest freaking party ever? Why would you not just have the biggest event? Why would you not make your wedding the biggest thing? Why would you not make it the biggest event? Like, kind of iconic. She is, it's kind of one of those things of stepping into understanding, like, I am the most famous person on the planet. It is what it is. People are going to want to see my wedding. They're going to want to find it. I'm getting married to a massively successful, famous person as well. Like, this is the royal wedding, you know? And I know people are going to come for me for that, of being like, oh, you're comparing Taylor Swift to royalty. Yeah, I am. Who cares? If she has it in private, people would say it didn't happen. If she has it in public, people will say it's fake. So it's like, who gives a shit? You know, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. That's what I say. Will Taylor Swift get married this upcoming June? Only time will tell. Will it be a massive wedding? Only time will tell. Will I be getting an invite? Only time will tell. But that's just one of the many things that's happened since we last chatted. The other thing that's happened is Dancing with the Stars wrapped their season, and I want to take a second to talk about Whitney Leavitt. Whitney Leavitt is from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I am not going to get up here and pretend that I know all of the details of that show, because full transparency, I have not even finished the second season. I want to, don't get me wrong. I've been a busy girl. I'm a busy woman, okay? But from the show that I've seen, and from the clips that I've seen, and also from the brain that I have, I am not someone who's falling for the idea that anybody on a reality TV show is 100% exactly the way that they seem to be on that show. You know why? Because guess what? Ding, ding, ding. Newsflash. Reality TV is not 100% authentic. It is still somewhat scripted. There are producers, there are writers, there are people who are fabricating storylines to make it as entertaining as possible, because it is supposed to be entertaining. At the end of the day, it's still a show, right? So there has to be drama. There has to be a villain, because guess what? There can't be a hero if there isn't a villain. You can't have a favorite if you don't have a least favorite. They have to fabricate that. They have to have people saying, I'm Team Whitney, I'm Team Taylor, I'm Team Layla, I'm Team Jesse, I'm Team Demi. They need that to happen in order for it to go as viral as possible, in order for it to be as successful as possible. That's just how it goes. And so I feel like if you were anybody with somewhat of a brain, I'm not trying to be nasty, I'm just trying to be real. If you watch a reality TV show, you can get into it and you can be super entertained by it, but in the back of your mind the whole time, you know, like, this is somewhat fake. Like, I'm not going to hold any of these women or any of these people to this storyline as if it's like full on, this is the godforsaken truth. If you were not tuning in this season to Dancing with the Stars, and if you've never tuned into Dancing with the Stars is not a reality TV show. It's not dramatic. It's not supposed to be this like scandalous competition. It's a very fun, positive show, because in my opinion, and many people's opinion, this is a show that takes people from all ranges of experience with dance. Some absolutely no experience with dance, some a little bit, but they're not professional dancers by any means. They take them on and they are trained in a craft, and getting to watch the progress that these people make is fascinating to me. I love watching, and I think anyone who watches the show, you love watching people learn a new craft. It's exciting. It's so interesting, and it's very cool to me, because I think that's the coolest thing about the arts, is seeing that anyone can do it. If you have a certain amount of time, if you have training, you can learn a new skill. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. You can put your mind to something and you can become great at it. You can become better at it, at least. And so that's what I think is so exciting and encouraging about the show. And it's so fun to watch. And it's one of the only shows that exists that's literally just like purely good, you know, purely positive. And even though it's a competition show, it feels like everyone who's on there, obviously they all want to win. They're all wanting to do their best, but they also are rooting for each other. Like, it's not like there's enemy lines drawn. And the only show that I feel the same about is the Great British Baking Show. Like, they all hug and cry when somebody's leaving. You know, no one wants anyone else to be eliminated, but you also don't want to go home. So that's kind of with these types of shows. Yes, it's a competition, but it's not something that scandals are started from. You vote for your favorites, and you don't make a plan, an orchestrated plan to try to vote somebody off the show just because you don't like them. And that's exactly what happened this season. Whitney Leavitt from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives came on the show and was immediately fantastic, like absolutely fantastic. And I watched her and Mark's interview on Call Her Daddy. And from what they were saying is that the hate really started to pour in around week 5. And so for those of you who didn't watch the show, essentially there was like this turning point in this season where people really started to have this vengeance towards Whitney. People on the internet started to post about how they think that the judges are playing favorites with Whitney. They think that Whitney has an unfair advantage because she had a dance background. They felt that she should be voted off the show just because they didn't like her because of the character that she played. And I say that intentionally, the character that she played on the show, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, because in my mind, in my opinion, reality TV is still TV. It's still a production. It's still scripted. To some level, it is scripted. There's some element of fabricated storylines that are going on in reality TV because they have to make it entertaining. And what's more entertaining than a villain? Nothing. We've learned that from Wicked, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But another turning point, according to Whitney and Mark, is when The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives season 3 came out during the season of Dancing with the Stars. Because on this show, on The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Whitney was very honest when someone asked her why she came back, because allegedly she was not planning on returning for a 3rd season, and then she decided to. And she was honest with her answer when they asked her, why is she returning? And she said that it is because she was given the opportunity to audition for Dancing with the Stars if she returned for season 3. So she said, sign me up. And people lost their minds about that. They felt that that meant that she should be voted off the show because the only reason she did The Lives of Mormon Wives was to get on Dancing with the Stars. Like, she's so calculated, this and that. People had problems with that. And, you know, I think that if you listen to the interview on Call Her Daddy, I think Whitney did a great job of talking about this issue. But really all my mind came to is that people do not understand that being on TV is a job. That would be no different than if you were planning on leaving your current place of employment for a different company that was going to give you better pay, better benefits, you know, whatever it is that you were ready to leave. And when you told your boss that, they offered you $20,000 higher than what the new place was offering you. And you decided, you know what, I'm going to stay. It's a business decision. It's a business decision for your career. That's all she did. That is literally all she did. She decided, I have this goal, I have this dream, and somebody just offered it to me if I do something else. And so, yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm going to do that. There's nothing wrong with having ambitions. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be on Dancing with the Stars. Do you know how many people want to be on Dancing with the Stars? I would kill to be on Dancing with the Stars one day. That would be a dream come true, you know? Somebody asked me to do something that I didn't really want to do and said, hey, you can be on Dancing with the Stars. It would have to be something horrendous for me to say, no, sorry, can't do it. If you are going to get up and say that you wouldn't, you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. And I'm not even going to go too heavy into the ideas of if it was a man, no one would be saying any of this. They would just be saying he's a baller. Taylor Swift has covered that in her song, The Man. Go listen to it and then come back to me. Or don't. So what happened, apparently, from what I've seen, the discourse that I've seen is people literally kind of got together, band together on the internet and configured a way of like, if we vote for, instead of just voting for our favorites, voting for who we want to win, if we intentionally vote for everybody but Whitney, she'll get eliminated. And that's what they did. And just a different level, I think, of bullying than anyone's ever seen on Dancing with the Stars, because like I said, it's been such an overwhelmingly positive show, and this kind of thing doesn't happen. You know, I'm going to say something. My overall hot take with Whitney Leavitt is that I think that she is meant to be a star, because whether you like any of her actions on the show or not, whether they were scripted or not, to be a star and to be a certain level of fame and to have a certain amount of eyes on you, you have to have so much mental and emotional resilience to be able to put yourself out there for public speculation and scrutiny and still get up every week and put on the level of a performance that she did. And especially, I mean, just her performance level in itself is enough to make her a star, because like Mark was saying, there's a certain element of that can't be taught. You know, you can learn the technique, you can learn the skills, but to be able to put on a show, to perform, to bring a dance to life, the facials, the, you know, extra, just like the jazziness of it all. I don't even know how to explain it, but her performances are on another level just because of it being her, the performance that she is able to give. She is a performer. She is a star. She is meant for the stage. She is meant for the camera. And that is why I have the theory that, and this may or may not be true, this is just my theory, I think that with every single reality TV show, there's someone who has to be the villain. And I think that they kind of allow people to volunteer to be the villain, or they will make one. They will orchestrate drama. They will manipulate situations. They will edit things in a certain way to lead the public to assign someone the role of a villain, whether one is chosen or not. And I think that Whitney is the person who said, I can handle that, and decided to be the villain and allowed them to amp it up and played into that role. Because if you have that in the back of your mind and you watch some of the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, you can tell she's playing a role. Like, you can tell it's orchestrated. You can tell it's not authentic and that she is feeding into it. What would be the reason for that other than knowing? Guess what? Fact of the matter is, who is going to get the most screen time? Who is going to be the most famous? Two people, the villain and the hero, the favorite and the least favorite. So who's really the winner at the end of the day? If you become the villain, if your goal is looking past this show, seeing this show, this reality TV show as your launch pad, who's going to win in that situation? The villain, the villain, the villain, the villain, the screen time, the exposure, the public talking about you, because people love, like we've talked about, the whole point of this podcast, the sensationalism of it all. People love a hot take. They love rage bait. They love sensationalized media, headlines, news, like everything. We love the scandals. We love the drama. It's just how we are as humans. And so if you are the villain, you're going to be talked about way more than the ones who appeal to people, the ones who aren't bothersome, the ones who don't ruffle any feathers. You are going to be talked about. You're going to get more exposure. You're going to get more fame. And then what does that lead you to? Opportunities like Dancing with the Stars. What does that lead you to? Opportunities like Chicago, like Broadway, where Whitney Leavitt is now. So again, I ask you, who's the winner? Who's the winner? Whitney freaking Leavitt. That woman is a star. Mark my words. She is going to be huge. She is not stopping at Broadway. I think this is the very beginning for her. I will not be surprised if she books a major, major, major role in a like major motion picture movie, theatrical release. Mark my words. Mark my words. And on that note, there's something else that's been trending recently that people have been talking a ton about that's just sounds really familiar to what we've been talking about with Whitney Leavitt and Dancing with the Stars. And I just can't quite put my finger on it, but it's giving me a little bit of deja vu. Is this the daily dose of deja vu? Thank God, because I swear I've seen this film before. Welcome back to our segment, The Daily Dose of Deja Vu, where we talk about today's current events and where we've seen them before in history, in film, in media. Where have we seen this before? Why does this feel so familiar? Why am I having deja vu right now? Because, like I've said time and time again, there is nothing new under the sun. And once we analyze the patterns of our history, of our present day, of our media, of literature, we can start to analyze the current themes, how they've been woven into our society, and why they repeat themselves, and start to predict what happens next. So with all of this talk with Whitney Leavitt, with the idea of the villain being scripted and orchestrated to some extent, it just got me thinking about villains and why we love them so much. What do we think about the most when you think about any Disney movie growing up? If you think about the first characters that come to mind when if I threw out any Disney movie ever, any cartoon, any Pixar movie, you would probably immediately think of the good guy and the bad guy. Peter Pan, Captain Hook, Princess Aurora and Maleficent, Snow White and the Evil Queen, Ariel, and the heroes and the villains are the major characters in every single storyline. And the thing is, we can't have a hero if we don't have a villain. And does this sound familiar to something that is so relevant today? Something that was released just recently? The past 2 years, our world has revolved around this certain piece of literature, of theater. That, my friends, is Wicked. Wicked for Good came out at the end of last month. It's only been out for a couple of weeks, and it's all the rage, of course, because it's the biggest movie of the year. We've been looking forward to it since last year. We've really been looking forward to it for the past 5 years. And obviously, we all know the premise of the story of Wicked is that Elphaba is the Wicked Witch, and the Wicked Witch really isn't wicked. In fact, she's the complete opposite of wicked. There's some quotes from Wicked that just feel so relevant in our culture today as a whole, whether you're looking at politics or whether you're looking at Whitney Leavitt on Dancing with the Stars, a piece of pop culture, reality TV, whatever it is, that similar thread. That's what we're always looking for here on The Sensationalist. And that thread is a quote from the wizard himself, where he says something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, pardon me, of nothing brings people together more than a good enemy, someone to hate. Hot take, but I don't really think in our society today, I don't think love is what brings us together more than anything. I think it's hate. Think about politics for a second. Both sides, whether it's the left or the right, blue or red, no candidate runs on what they have to offer. They run on who they aren't. They run on literally the finger pointing game of vote for me because I'm not that guy. They are appealing to their fan base, their followers, by saying, fear the other people, fear the other side so much and vote for anything but that side. That's why we have this major divisive line. That's why it's really easy to control and manipulate us today, especially when we're talking about politics, because we are so heavily divided and we have two groups with that same ideology that the wizard gave of nothing brings people together more than a good enemy. And it's proven to be very effective because, like what I just said, you can't have a hero without having a villain. You can't have the side that is the good side without having the side that's the bad side. And you can't have the good person in a reality TV show without having the one that's the bad one. You can't have the good witch without having the wicked one. Spoiler alert. How Wicked for Good ends is with Elphaba telling Glinda just that. She says that she has to go so that Glinda can be good. Because think about it. There was nothing Elphaba could do at that point. Because that right there is the perfect analogy of how society would crumble if they knew the truth. If they found out the truth about Elphaba and the wizard, it would not bring them together. It would crumble and destroy all of Oz. So the best scenario in this instance was for Elphaba to go and for Glinda to become good, for her to actually become good, because the narrative had already been written. It was written in stone. The Wicked Witch to die. That way Glinda could truly become the hero. That way good could win. Even though it was all an illusion, it doesn't matter. That was the story that was written. If Elphaba came forward with the truth, no one would believe her. And that's the point. Is there really such thing as the truth? And on that note, I do want to give you guys a little sneak peek of my debut novel, because this is also relevant, and this is the reason that I started this podcast, is because I wanted to talk about these very themes that keep me up at night. And that's exactly what my novel is about, is all the things that we're talking about on this podcast. And that's why this podcast and my novel are so connected. So I want to read you this draft of the foreword for my debut novel. And I think that this foreword really captures the essence of what I'm trying to do here with this show, with this podcast. So I want to read it to you, and it is a little sneak peek, so you're welcome. Our world is composed of patterns. From recognizing your mother's voice in the womb to learning how to take your first steps. These actions are a result of pattern recognition. When you begin to predict the ending of a very tense film, you are attempting to fill the dark spaces of your imagination with predetermined information or patterns. When that uncomfortable feeling begins to rise in your stomach and creeps into the back of your throat, signaling to you that something is very, very wrong. When you feel as though your intuition has pulled you forth into some sort of psychic touch that could only be explained by a cosmic connection. When that peculiar sense of nostalgia begins to mix with a certain kind of deja vu that is uncanny, and you are utterly convinced that you have been here before. When the chapter of your history book begins to sound more familiar than the newspaper article on your breakfast table, you are not psychic, you are recognizing patterns. Patterns have woven themselves into every aspect of our life, from history to present, from books to music, from paintings to sculptures, from film to reality, and so on and so forth. We find ourselves completely lost within a cycle of strangely familiar yet completely confusing narratives where we no longer understand what is real and what is not, what is truth and what is fiction, and is there even such a thing? You see, truth is the most elusive victory prize in this world. We study history trusting those who inscribed it did so with the truth in mind, pinning the voices of those who were chosen as significant or honorable to carry the weight of the narrative of any given piece of time, leaving the forgotten voices of the millions who lived among them in the shadows. For every story that is heard, there are millions that will never see the light of day. For every side of every story, there are infinite other possibilities that were lost in translation, cast out to sea, where there are and will forever be more waters uncharted than not, or buried intentionally, far, far beneath the earth's surface. The question that follows is one that beckons to know if their voices were stifled due to their lies or due to their truth. Were they some of the most unfortunate souls who, by some strange happenstance of happenings, cross paths with some of the most vile, conniving individuals who stop at nothing to bury the crimes of truth and everyone who carries it alongside them? The innocent who find themselves entangled in the fabric of evil with eyes wide open. Those who choose to see can ultimately choose to become blind again. There are, however, some of the most unlucky individuals who were never able to not see. What a trifling existence in this world that is. What do we do with the ones who choose to stand proudly next to the truth? Do we trust them, or do we see their warnings as lunacy, only to praise them centuries later after the curtain has fallen and the stage is no longer? Only in the afterlife are they trusted for the very words they spoke clearly all along. What do we do with the ones who remained silent, observing the corruption from the sidelines as they too could see the patterns woven in this film and chose to spare themselves from the fateful ending? What do we say to the ones who chose complacency in a system that fits them as snug as Cinderella's glass slipper? The ones who chose to simply forget the patterns that they were acutely aware of, with an understanding that they would be inhibiting their own selves by keeping their eyes open? What do we say to the ones who chose evil in a world of evil that already existed? Who do we label the villain, and who will be marked the hero? Who will be the bystander, and what is their role? Who will be forgotten in the history books? Whose history will be rewritten? Who is the writer? Who is the editor? What details were left out? How do you know that you have the full story? And where do you find the drafted versions that have been lost at sea? If you continue to look for answers, it's only a matter of time before the label is created for you. Did you guess it? You did. Lunacy. The truth is that we simply don't know. We have what we're told and we have what we're shown. The two sometimes align, but that's few and far between. And what happens if you were not there to see what you would have seen? If these questions make you uncomfortable and you find yourself wrestling with your own head, this might not be the tale for you. My hope is that you leave with more questions than you have answers, as that is the world that we live in. And that this is no simple story of a bad, bad man and untimely revenge. This is not just a fictional story of women who were scorned. This is a warning to the reader that there is nothing new in this book. There never has been, and there never will be. For every story on the shelf at your local bookstore or library has these truths and lies woven deep within the pages. The characters, settings, and scenes might be different, but the patterns are the same. I won't tell you anything that you haven't heard before, but my hope is that you stop simply listening and begin to dig for more. It's a quest that is never ending, and it is not for the faint of heart, but I promise you this, you'll never be able to stop once you start. This is a story about patterns. May you seek them, may you learn from them, and may you eventually have the courage to attempt to change them when you see fit. Or read this book and enjoy its thrills, twists, and turns, and put me on the shelf next to Orwell, Hawthorne, Homer, Harris, and Carroll and say, what good fiction? And I'll ask again, is there even such a thing? You tell me. So that is the drafted foreword of my debut novel that is currently out on submission. If you would like to let me know if you're even more enticed in reading it, then I would love to hear so. I would love to hear it. But the reason I wanted to read that is because I really do feel like that not only captures the essence of this podcast, but really the specific conversation that we're having in regards to Whitney Leavitt, Dancing with the Stars, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Wicked, because like I said in there, how do you know you have the full story? That's the question that, in my belief, created Wicked. Because Wicked, we know, came from the story, the cinematic universe of the Wizard of Oz. And I just imagine this person read that story, perhaps watched the movie, and said, you know, what if we don't have the full story? What if the Wicked Witch wasn't actually wicked? Because how do people turn wicked? People are not just born wicked, right? I think we can all agree with that. Something as iconic as Wicked came from something as simple as curiosity. The curiosity to peek behind the curtain, the curiosity to find those stories, those versions of the story that were lost at sea, to ask, am I getting the full story? And to create your own side, to create another possibility to this pre-existing storyline, this pre-existing narrative, to say, well, what if there was more that happened? Because there always is. There is always more than meets the eye. There is always more that happens behind the scenes, behind the curtain, off to the side, and the people who are writing these versions, the versions that make their way to our screens, to our worldview, the people who are writing them, the people who are writing the narrative, they are hoping that you are not curious. They are hoping that you are not curious to look behind the curtain and ask, what if this isn't the full story? What if there is more? What if the villain wasn't always wicked? What if the villain isn't wicked at all? And so I think the reason I love Wicked so much is because it is so relevant to every bit of our society, and I think it always has been, and I think it always will be, but really just in the idea of how much you can create with curiosity. It all comes down to that. If you are just curious, if you are just willing to ask questions and to peek behind the curtain, what you can come up with. Curious minds change. Complicit minds remain. If you are not happy with the state of the world, if you are not happy with the state of the country, if you are not happy with the state of your own life, ask yourself, am I curious or am I complicit? That's a bar. And so I do think that Wicked and just those ideas really have changed the way that I see everything, because I'm always asking, what's the full story? What else is there here? And that's why when I see someone like Whitney Leavitt, I'm not at all convinced that she's a villain that should be cast out from society, that should have a scarlet letter on her forever that marks her as the villain, and we should never give her a chance in the spotlight again, or, give her the same kind of respect and opportunities as anybody else on Dancing with the Stars or any reality show or competition show. I see her and I ask, well, what else happened that we didn't see? What else was, even if it's not other drama, other scandals, like what else did the other women do to her? Not that. What were the conversations behind closed doors? What were the, storylines that were crafted by people for the sake of entertainment, by writers at Hulu? That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm curious about. That's also what I'm curious about when I see any headline in the news. I say, who does this benefit? And who does this harm? And who wrote it? That's how I approach everything, with curiosity and a little bit of skepticism. And you know what? Even if that's not the right way to go about it, it has sure led to me creating a lot of things. I'm open to hearing other perspectives because I'm always curious for more. Give me 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 more. But again, when we think about Wicked, Elphaba's the villain, but she sure as shit was well known. And Whitney Leavitt, who's benefited the most out of this season of Dancing with the Stars? I would have to say, I think it's Whitney. she's on Broadway. So if you take anything from this episode, let it be this: you cannot have a hero if you do not have a villain. You cannot have goodness if there isn't wickedness, and nothing brings people together more than a good enemy. Well, on that note, shall we shift gears into something a little more lighthearted? I think it's time we call our favorite handyman and discuss the sharpest tools on the internet this week. Does anyone know the number to a good handyman? I am in desperate need of a sharp tool. Everybody is just so dumb. Welcome back to my personal favorite segment, Smooth Brains and Hard Hats, where I read you some of the dumbest things that people have said to me on the internet this week. So I have a bit of a story this week with this because I have discovered that I have a very committed hater. There's this woman, this grown adult woman who can't stand me, apparently, which really, I think it's quite the opposite. I think that she likes me a little too much, and she definitely has post notifications on. She's commented things about my appearance, which good luck getting me to feel bad about the way I look, girl. She's commented things about just me being stupid, which again, good luck. But she's commented pretty much anything mean that you can imagine. And she's the first to comment all the time. And most recently, I just wanted to test. I wanted to do a little test because I'm not a big blocker. I don't really block that many people. Unless you're really scary, I'm not going to block you. I don't care. I love attention, good or bad. So this girl, I didn't want to block her, but I just wanted to test because it's always so quick. And so I thought she must have post notifications on. If I remove her as a follower, that would disable the post notifications. I want to see how long it is before I hear from her again, you know? So I removed her as a follower, and then I went back to editing my video. I posted it, that whole ordeal from time that I removed her as a follower to the time that I posted my newest video was probably about 3, maybe 4 minutes. Within 30 seconds of it being posted, got a comment from her. This is like an I made it moment for me because I truly believe in the fact that you cannot have people really love you unless you have people hate you. You can't have a villain unless you have a hero. And so this is an I made it moment for me because I have my first like committed hater, which means I'm somebody. I'm somebody worth talking about, good or bad. Yeah, baby. You're searching my name. You're spelling it. You got muscle memory going to that Britton. I love it. I'm flattered. Almost all of the nasty Nellies have been, upset about me and my relationship status. 7 years, red flag. Why isn't he committing? Again, like I said, why do people assume that it is completely up to the man? 7 years? Girl, he better get a move on. This one made me genuinely laugh. Guess who my Spotify Wrapped #1 artist was? It was Taylor Swift. So I got the little video and I posted a funny little video. And I said, me watching Taylor Swift's Spotify Wrapped video and pretending it was a deeply personal message she recorded for me, her close personal friend, and me only. Keyword there was pretending. Keyword pretending also shouldn't have even needed to be said because I think most of us have common sense. But this girl who hates me commented and said, no, you are pathetic. This was a video that she sent to the public, to everyone, not just you. Ha 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 ha. What? What do you mean? We're talking about Whitney Leavitt. Listen to this comment, okay? I post about who's really the winner here. Whitney Leavitt's going to be a star. She's going to be on Broadway. What did I say? I said she was going to be a star, and look at her. I posted that. This person commented and said, y'all acting like being on Broadway is some major opportunity or any kind of an accomplishment is absolutely wild. Being on Broadway, that's rage bait. That's literal rage bait. You're just ridiculous. Another one about Whitney, this person said, she's never going to be big because you have to be liked to be big. That's not true. Look at the successful politicians. This one is my favorite of the week. Just on a random video I posted about God knows what. This person said, we literally don't care about anything you've ever had to say, and I don't know what it's going to take for you to get that through your thick skull. Message will never be received. I will continue to yap and yap and yap and yap and yap, whether anyone is listening at all. In essence, I love my fans so much, and I do consider all of these people who leave me nasty comments to be my biggest fans. Well, as fun as that was, it is time for a brand new segment. Sensational Stories, where I read your submissions that you send to me telling me about your scandals, the biggest rumors you've heard, the biggest, most juicy piece of gossip that you ever can imagine. And I have received some wild stories. Some of them are a little too wild for me to read on here. I'm not gonna lie. So Without further ado, let's read our first sensational story. The first story is a cheating scandal, but with a twist. I went out to dinner one night with my sister and I saw my best friend's boyfriend hanging out with another girl. They weren't holding hands, they weren't kissing, but they were just sitting way too close for comfort in a booth. It was just the two of them together, so I assumed it was a date. I took a picture and sent it to her. I thought I was being a good friend, but she decided to confront him immediately, and the entire thing blew up. Everyone picked sides in our friend group, and turns out, he claimed, the other girl was his cousin. However, no one believed him, not my best friend and not me. They ended up breaking up over this, and years later the truth came out that it was indeed his cousin. I never told my friend that I was the one who sent the photo because she was so upset about it, and I had sent it anonymously. I don't even know how you do that. I just acted as shocked as everybody else. She still doesn't know to this day that it was me. Girl, you better tell your... Look, here's the thing. I feel like that could have been easily verified. At that point, that's not on you. Like, how could she have not verified that it was his cousin? I mean, he could have tried hard. He could have literally been like, come meet my cousin. You know, this is my cousin. Talk to my mom. Talk to my dad. Like, that's not on you. That's not on you. This next one is very scandalous. I was a hostess at a fancy restaurant, and I always had this tiny forbidden crush on one of the servers. Minor detail, he was married. Meanwhile, I had just gotten engaged to my boyfriend of 5 years. So, of course, right when my life is supposed to be stable, this server suddenly starts pursuing me and tells me that he's basically not married anymore. Incredible timing. I'm confused because I love my fiance, but I also didn't want to get married while secretly wondering what if. So the server asked me out. The date? It was the most emotionally intense night of my life. Also, I completely blacked out. He ends up driving me home while I'm apparently professing my love to him and telling him I want his babies. Another coworker had seen us at the bar and the rumors went swirling around at work, and my fiance found out. I confessed everything and we pushed our engagement back while I tried to understand my feelings, but the server kept pursuing me. 2 more dates. He told me he wanted to build a life with me, said he was going to start saving money for us. Then literally the next day, his wife gets arrested for assaulting someone. He files for divorce, and then he dumps me because he's emotionally unstable and doesn't want to hurt me. Meanwhile, everyone at work thinks that I broke up his marriage, even though we never even slept together and he was the one begging for a future with me. Months later, we find out he actually slept with another coworker, much younger than both of us, and that's why his wife had the breakdown. He then starts trauma dumping all over the restaurant, telling everyone he rejected me, as if the 3 dates and life planning speeches didn't exist on his behalf. He alienates every friend he has, trauma bonds with the girl he actually cheated with, and they form this weird it's us against the world bunker that everyone at work hates, and I'm just there devastated watching him pick her over me. Then he gets fired because he made a comment about having a gun in his car and using it at people at work. Oh my God. 3 months later, I find out he got arrested for DWI. I sent the mugshot to everyone at work. Karma has never felt so good. Looking back, the whole thing feels like a fever dream. I bet. I got a better job, married the fiance I actually love, but yeah, that is the most scandalous thing I've ever done. Yeah, I bet it is. That's a scandal, girl. That is a scandal. Our last story is about a fake pregnancy. I was 22 when my best friend found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her, and instead of leaving him, she decided to fake a pregnancy to keep him from leaving her. I thought the whole thing was a really bad idea, but I decided to go along with it because I was young and dumb and immature. I helped her Photoshop the fake pregnancy test and an ultrasound photo off of a sketchy website and even practiced crying reactions with her. The problem with this is that she clearly wasn't pregnant and never made a full-on plan of what she would do next once he found out the truth, if he would find out the truth. It got really messy when he decided to propose to her. His entire family got in on it and threw them a massive engagement party. Oh my God. She said yes to his proposal and continued to be fake pregnant for 3 months. Huh? Like everything, the truth ends up coming out, and let's just say they never ended up getting married, ... I was the maid of honor at her wedding, though, to somebody else. Yeah, I bet it was to somebody else. Y'all, we can't be doing this. But keep these coming. For next week's sensational stories, we have a theme of, drumroll, Sensational confessions. I want to hear your deepest, darkest secrets, your confessions that you would only tell to me and the Lord. Whether it's a confession that you have or something that somebody has confessed to you, make it juicy, make it crazy, send it to me for a chance for me to read it on the podcast. I cannot wait to read them and share them with you all next week. If you are listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Sensationalist. I hope you had a sensational time. I know I did. And if you are watching, then I hope you enjoyed the show. And I am so excited to see you again next week. It's going to be another sensational week, another week full of scandals, and I cannot wait to recap it all with you here on The Sensationalist. My pink couch was slipping. Ignore it and live, laugh, love. I'm going to go take a Tums and hit the hay. I love you all, my little scandalous divas. Bye.